Hey, how's it going? It's been a while. This is our reaction video, and I'm hoping to get lots of people involved in the chat here. It's been, geez, it's been a hot minute since I've done any Hoops Crew content, but it's really exciting to be back. And I guess you're going to get some live streams from me, multiple over the course of the next week or so, because we've also got the draft coming up. But today, the AFL fixture for 2025 has been released. The season's barely over. The draft hasn't even occurred. Now we know where the Cats, but of course the broader competition, are going to be playing, where they're going to be based for the first 15 rounds of season 2025. A season where the Cats should win the premiership, am I right? For anyone new, it's been a little while. If you've forgotten, my name is Paul James. I'm one of fifth of the Hoops Crew, and we've got some awesome content planned for this off-season period as well as season 2025. And I'm very excited to essentially kick off kind of our 2025 campaign with this video, right? Like we're talking about a brand new season already. And for me, that's pretty exciting. I can see Aviation Flicks here in the chats also talking about how excited they are. It is a really exciting time to be kind of, to a degree, to a much smaller degree, kind of kick off our content for the year. Sorry to anyone who might be tuning in a little bit later and maybe missed the initial launch. Ben was initially aiming for 8 o'clock. As I am the one on the stream, I pushed back and was lobbying for 7 o'clock and 7:30. Sorry, and so here we are. It is 7:30 p.m. the night of the fixture being released, and I have thoughts, and I want to see people chatting in the comments. If there's anyone who wants to jump into the stream and kind of share some of their thoughts as well, sing out in the chat, and I'll get the link out there for people so you can potentially join in as well. But I guess my first impression from having looked at our fixture for the year is, as Amy says, it's a pretty good fixture for the most part. Like, for a team that played in a prelim and should by rights get a pretty grueling fixture, I feel like, and I haven't had I mean, certainly haven't had enough time yet to look at the broad scope of the entire competition and work out which teams are maybe doing better or worse. And there's probably people who've already come up with some sort of aggregate already based on last season's ladder, I should say, to kind of work out which teams have got it hardest. I believe I saw something that showed that Brisbane's got it hardest, and as well they should. But then, working backwards from there, I heard the Pies have got a pretty tough one. Sucked in, Pie supporters. But I feel like, and we'll talk about kind of the week by week shortly, I feel like this is a pretty solid one. Now, we've got some amazing graphics that have come from the Geelong Footy Club. We've got some details on the Geelong website that really expands a few things. And to his great credit, Ben, the face, the leader of our rabble at the Hoops Crew, has also put together a big spreadsheet for me that gives me a whole bunch of details and also highlights where some potential milestones might drop, setting aside the possibility of injuries or suspensions or any of those sorts of things. And we've got a season of some pretty awesome milestones coming up as well. So to quickly respond to some prompts, some questions that are already coming up, Brandon, I'm doing all right. For me, as many know, a full-time high school teacher, I specifically teach year 12s quite a lot. They've just had their exams for me in the last week, so I'm kind of in that exhale period at the moment. I can take a bit of a breath and come up for air, and then in about 3 or 4 days, my new batch for next year start working with me in a couple of days, and the grind starts again. So I'm going to savor it. Apparently comments are automatically coming up on the screen. I am clicking these myself at the moment, but so I'm not 100% sure what capacity that is. But Ben has been tinkering. He can't sit still. He can't take a break. He's been sending all sorts of pieces about our content plans for 2025 and how we can kind of improve what we're doing, grow what we're doing, engage more of you in what we're doing. And this is just one other part of that. I just get to be the ugly mug on the other end of the camera here, but Ben's done a lot of legwork over the course of today to kind of set this one up. So if he's been tinkering around with comments automatically appearing as well, that's pretty sweet. Brandon, Geelong has still not played Collingwood in Geelong, I think is the specific thing there, since 1999. Whose idea is it? I find it very interesting. Look, for me, I think it's very simple. And as much as obviously we as Geelong fans would like to see, and note, I'm saying fans. I'm not saying the Geelong Football Club, so I'll expand on that too. As Geelong fans, we would... there you go, and you followed it up. We as Geelong fans would, of course, like to see the Pies come to town and kind of beat them up a little bit on the home turf. And, there's something to be said for the fact they haven't played in Geelong for a real game for 4 points this century, this millennium. But the reality is they are such a profitable club to play against that for Geelong, it makes sense to play home games against the Pies at the G. Now, I don't think from memory that this season is the season where we actually have the home game against the Pies. I'll have to double check that. Maybe someone can kind of confirm whether it's a home game against the Pies or not. I believe there was a graphic I saw where Ollie Dempsey's elbow was kind of in the way of some home games in that key middle block of the season. So I couldn't quite tell. I'm going to quickly skim around because there was a beautiful series of graphics that the club put together that highlighted all of the key details. I don't know where I saw it. Must have been Instagram potentially. Oh no, hang on, here we go. Away game against the Pies. Thank you for clarifying that one. And I'll quickly screen share here and just kind of, we need to highlight the efforts of the social team and what they do, because as much as they're not the on-field talent, they're not the administrative that we tend to think of, the way they engage communities is really important. We see what the GWS team has done over the years, and it's quite extraordinary. So let me quickly screen share what they've been up to. And this is just from their Facebook page. We've obviously got beautiful, like the fixture confirmation there, but then beyond that, we've got a graphic in. As I said, Ollie Dempsey's elbow crossing right over the Pies game, so I was flying a little bit blind there for a while. But they've done a great job compiling that one and making it look really, really sharp. I've also seen a little video where they're taking the piss a little bit with some of the home opponents that will be taking on at different stages too. So I guess we'll hone in on this a little bit and then we'll dive into some of the intricacies somewhat of what our fixture for 2025 is looking like at present. Of course, there is the bye week, and then after that, we've just got big windows of time for the games. We don't really know what specific day of the week they're going to be, but Geelong, we've already learnt that Geelong is going to feature opening round, very first game of the season. Brisbane is unfurling the flag. It is a home game for the Lions. We're going up there for a bit of revenge off the back of the prelim last year, and hopeful that we take the chocolates there. Bailey Smith is going to play his first game for the Cats. That's going to be exciting. Lots of cool aspects to that. I am going to try while we're doing this to keep an eye on some of Ben's notes as we go here, because there are some kind of key details for some of the various games. Milestone for this one would certainly be Bailey Smith's first game. I'm going to punch that in the dock because he didn't do that. But, and then we kind of proceed from there. Now, of course, because we're playing an opening round, the Cats will get 2 byes over the course of the season. Whether that's good or bad, I guess, is up for debate. We know that Geelong doesn't necessarily have the greatest of records after a bye, but we've done little bits to kind of rectify that also in more recent years. So fingers crossed. But anyway, that is opening round against the Lions. And, I mean, there is so much water to pass under the bridge. I'm going to reshuffle this a little bit. And hopefully I can... There we go. Take up a bit more real estate. Tell me if that's now too small. And if it is, I'll fix it and go back the other way again. Round 1, though, from this point, is a game against Freo in Geelong. So round 1, we get our first home game, first of 10 games at GMHBO for the season, which has also been, I think I saw something like 25 years or thereabouts since we played 10 games in a season at GMHBA or Cardinia Park or Simmons Stadium or Shell Stadium or the various different iterations that we've had over the years. It's been something like 25 years since we've played that many games in Geelong. And obviously that's great news for the club. It's great news for the fan base. Really excited for it. It is also a milestone game. assuming again, and all of this is working on the assumption that there are no injuries, there's no suspensions, there's nothing to get in the way of players hitting these milestones, no selection issues for them, no issues kind of getting in the way of their road to this particular point. Jake Kolodjasny will be playing his 200th game in round 1, which is cool. Obviously, I think plenty of people saw my my end of season report card for Jake Kolodjasny last year. Those videos are still to come for this year. And I was, discussing the fact that he was really on the fringe and pretty close to falling out of the 23. But this season, I would argue, has been absolutely his best season. I really couldn't complain at all with what Jake Kolodjasny's put together, and hope that he's able to continue that on going into season 2025. Round 2 at Marvel Stadium, we're playing the Saints. Now, just like Freo, actually, we are coming off a loss when it comes to them specifically. Ben's made a typo in our doc here. Our first 3 matches of the season are all against teams who, in our most recent bout, we lost to, being Brisbane, Fremantle, and St Kilda. I don't see Geelong having a hiccup like they did against the Saints at the end of last year, but also the St Kilda teams of the last few years have started the season fairly strongly. And then they've kind of wavered through the middle and, either limped into finals or kind of fallen out at the last minute in recent years. And so I think they're going to be dangerous. Big loss coming in round 11. Blake. Mate, haven't you finished your exam check? Get out of here. Go enjoy. Put it all behind you. So yeah, look, we'll see what happens there with the Saints. I would like to think we win. I think on paper, regardless of what happens with the draft period, we've got a better team than them, but who knows? Round 3 is, of course, where we have the bye. So that is an offset to the fact that we played opening round. Obviously not something we experienced last year, but we'll be playing opening round this year. It means that we get the bye fairly early on in the piece. There's quite a few teams from what I saw. Maybe Ben made a typo about actually, he did too. He's just flipped around. Thank you, Jackie, for clarifying that with Freo. That is a good point, actually. I remember that because it was over in the West. Actually, I see what he's gone for at the specific venue. Good one, Ben. Ben, you're ahead of the curve. I just needed to read the title of your column properly. Previous result at the same venue versus this opponent. So he's just clarifying that a little bit more. So yeah, he's actually correct in all regards, and yeah. And sorry, Jackie. Yeah, how could I forget the Sean Manor goal? It was absolutely brilliant. So we move on to round 4 then. Not much to say, obviously, about round 3, other than we're going to get a break nice and early. And obviously for a list that is older, we're not the oldest anymore, but older, it's not bad to get multiple breaks over the course of the season. There's some positives to this. But we return for our first Friday night game of the season against the D's. And that will be, again, assuming everything goes well, Mitch Duncan's 300th game. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Mitch Duncan in the off-season. I put together some videos discussing will he, won't he, what does it need to look like, how is he featuring as a cat throughout the course of 2025. He's going around again, presumably one final time, and his 300th game is destined for round 4 for the Cats. So, I mean, I'm excited for it. Mitch Duncan's been a long-time favourite of mine since he joined, and he's done some incredible things. He's served the tomahawk very, very well over the years. He's been a perfect foil for the Dangerfields and the Joel Selwoods and Gary Ablets and Jimmy Bartels and so many legendary players that have played on our list throughout his career that he's been a wonderful foil for. And when they've lit it up, he's just done his piece. When they've been clamped down on, he's stepped up to the plate. Mitch Duncan's been an incredible contributor to the Cats for a long, long time, and absolutely deserves a massive celebration for his 300th game. That is a home game on a Friday night at GMHBA. Next up, round 5, gather round. And I guess this one's a little bit more straightforward. Last year, we played the Dogs in a game in Adelaide. This year, we are kicking off gather round on a Thursday night against the Crows. So a short 6-day turnaround for that one too. I might add, that's not necessarily ideal, but we are also coming pretty fresh off a break in the form of a bye as well. And then we're going to get a longer break going into our Easter Monday game the following week. Kiri's already talking about being there. Good to hear. I need to get myself over to a gather round. It's such an awesome spectacle. I really hoped. And so I've still never attended a game interstate to this point. Cue shock and horror. I've still never attended a game interstate. Finances don't really allow it now. Little kids really don't allow it. But I want to go to a gather round. I want to go to a game in South Australia against Port Adelaide because I want to hear the whole never tear us apart thing and the way they do that. I'm really excited for that. But this is the next best thing, really. Gather round Adelaide, the hosts, or one half of the hosts for gather round. It's the premium time slot, and I'm really excited to check this one out. So, again, we should get the win. I mean, Adelaide are a team that is building and absolutely underperformed through season 2024, but I think, again, on paper, we've got the stronger team. But there's a lot to go under the bridge before we get to that particular point. Kiri, make sure you're nice and loud for us, mate. Next up is the game that, if there's no other home and away game in the season that I will go to, this will be the one. I have to go to this one. Easter Monday against the Hawks. Obviously, lots of bad blood between the two teams, lots of history between the two teams, and lots of bravado from Hawthorn supporters who just think season 2025 is going to be the easiest layup in the world now. And I genuinely think Hawthorn as a club is set for a backward step from season 2024. Not that they're going to be cellar dwellers or anything like that, but I think there might be a bit of a reality check ahead of them. They got pretty badly exposed when we beat them late in season 2024, and to their great credit, they performed admirably through the final series as well. But I think there's still a golfing class, there's a golfing experience, and teams are going to be more wary of the Hawks going into this new year, and I think they might slide a little bit. That all said, when it comes to a Geelong and Hawthorn match, however, all the rules, all the theory, all the history, toss it out the window. It doesn't matter. And so, it could really be a coin toss. But it's an exciting one, and I'll definitely be there on Easter Monday for sure. The Anzac Day round is the following week, this is a really interesting block of matches for us. Now, in this current day and age, there's really no easy opponent. And I don't want to get too cliche with those sort of things, but that Hawthorn game, based on the form of Hawthorn from last season, that Hawthorn game kicks off a block of 6 games against some seriously talented opponents. So we've got Hawthorn. Carlton, who, I mean, if their players can get their bodies right, are going to be one of the premiership fancies once again this year. We play them in the Anzac Day round. It is what day of the week is it? It's a Saturday. Geez, that's a short break, Monday into Saturday. That's a bit rough. We got dogged there. Jack Henry's 150th, though, as Ben brilliantly points out. It's hard to get a bit of a read. Carlton have been an injury-prone team in terms of season 2024, 1 win apiece. Both games pretty spectacular for different kind of reasons. And sadly, the last time, of course, Tom Hawkins played a game for the AFL team was against Carlton. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. It's a 3:20 game. So we're not talking about a nighttime slot. We play a lot of night times over the course of this season, which is great. I'm curious to see how we perform in this block of 6 games and to kind of highlight, and I guess the graphic here shows it anyway with all these random plebs that are commenting on it. We play some pretty, hang on, let me go full screen. I can make that a bit bigger. Maybe that helps a little bit too. We play, 6 pretty difficult opponents. Next up being the Pies, who will have every reason to believe that they are back in the race up to their eyeballs throughout this season. Obviously, things didn't really work out for them through 2024. They had a very Geelong of 2023-like season, falling off after a premiership. And, they're a proud club. They're a talented club. They'll be back. they'll be a scary prospect throughout the course of the season. There's an argument to be made that maybe they've been worked out a little bit, but with all the talent they've got, you can't rule them out. And there's no reason to believe why they couldn't be contending for a premiership again in 2025. And it's going to be a difficult match. 7:35 at the MCG on a Saturday night. Next up is the Giants. Again, another team that has a fairly good case to mount for being a premiership fancy. They have lost some key players over the course of the offseason, which is certainly going to hurt them. And it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. We are playing them at GMHBA now. At face value, you go, great, that's advantage Cats. But our history against the Giants at home hasn't been great. Kiri needs to bring the trombone to the Port game. Thanks, Ben. And sorry for going rogue and starting 20 minutes, half an hour earlier than you had initially blocked us in for. Seems like everyone's turning up anyway, which is great to see. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in today. The Giants, Jackie says it, Giants at home. We actually need to play them away. That's far better suited for us. But we'll see how that one plays out. Again, they are a weaker team going into 2025. I don't think Jake Stringer adds much, and then they've just lost a series of pretty incredible halfback flankers. Very, very talented young players that have left and gone to different clubs. So it's going to hurt them for sure. Next up, one part of the Sir Doug Nicholls round. Our first matchup, and keep in mind it's labelled a round. It's kind of 2 rounds in the end. We're playing against Port Adelaide. It's at Adelaide Oval. Wish we played more games at Marvels. Is an interesting take. I will jump back to that one shortly. I'm curious as to your rationale, Aviation Flicks. If you want to just, I guess, explain the thinking a little bit there, I'd love to kind of pick through that topic with you a little bit more shortly. But yeah, the first of our Sir Doug Nicholls games, it's been a nightmare for us in recent years. I hadn't paid attention to win-loss and that specific block of games before, but I back Ethan in. He notices patterns that a lot of us don't, and it's good to hear from you again, Ethan. It's been a while. It's been a while between drinks chatting to all of you, and it's really awesome to be doing so again. So yeah, we're playing against Port Adelaide. Of course, they are. Oh, can you say that they're a weaker team? They lost Houston, but they've got new key forwards. Who else did they bring in? Who did Port bring in? Port Adelaide trade period. Ins and outs. Yeah, thanks, AFL.com.au. Come on, spit it out. Port. It's going well. It's going real well. Come on, just give me what I'm looking for. How is it that when I search for Port Adelaide here we go. Oh, it was a graphic, not text. Good one, AFL.com.au. So they lost Dan Houston, but they brought in Rory Atkins. They brought in Joe Richards. They brought in Jack Lukosius. It nets out at probably a win, I would say. Because, Lukosius is, for us Geelong supporters, Jack Lukosius is problematic. He continues to play good football against us. Joe Richards is a pretty handy player coming across from the Pies, and Rory Atkins has been there and done it for a long time and has experience. He has runs on the board. Can't rule him out in terms of what he can offer. It's probably a net positive, despite the fact that Dan Houston is a seriously big loss. Thank you for clarifying that one, Ben. Just getting the ball rolling, the cogs started turning. We play them at Adelaide Oval. This will be Cam Guthrie's 250th game. Again, assuming he plays right up until that point. And hopefully Cam Guthrie is fit and firing for this season, because he was a big loss for us over the course of the year, despite how incredible our season was. No one's jumping into the call at the moment. I'm going to take these things off. Next up, we are then talking about, I can hear my own voice. I should put him back on. Next up is a match against the Dogs. And, we've played them at Marvel. We've played them at the G. Obviously, we had Aviation Flicks talking before, and here we go, kind of expand a little bit with the atmosphere. And the member selection for Geelong is great when we verse teams that their home ground is Marvel. So, it's always home like 2024. We only played one game at Marvel last year. Let me double check what we've got. So we've got one against the Saints this year. Another against North Melbourne in round 20. So yeah, we're not playing at Marvel much this season either. But anyway, getting back to the Dogs one, even the Dogs recently have been coming to play Geelong in Geelong, making it a home game for themselves. Like it's been a weird sort of thing in the last few years. And you're right, it's meant that we've not played at Marvel overly much. For me personally, I'm not too disappointed that we don't play at Marvel all that often, simply because the finals aren't played there. If we're going to play in Melbourne, I'd rather play at the G because it's match practice. It's practice for when it counts. 7:30 matchup though against the Dogs on a Thursday night, one of our 3 Thursday night matches. And of course, the back end of the season, rounds 17 through to 24, haven't been determined yet. So there could be more Thursdays ahead of us. We've got equal second most with 3 so far. So we'll see how that all plays out. And of course, our most recent matchup against the Dogs at the venue was a loss. A pretty ugly match for us last year, playing the Dogs at GMHBA. Round 12, and that kind of ends the block of really difficult games that I was talking about, because now we get, I don't know, how do I say this without sounding too disrespectful? The Eagles should be a layup. That should be a walk-up game. But you never know. In this day and age, anything seems possible when it comes to the AFL. The AFL has put in so much work into equalisation that you just can't rule out the possibility that the Eagles will... Where are we playing them? At Optus. Playing them at home. You never know. But we should bank the win there. Aviation Flicks has expanded a little bit. True, the roof makes the atmosphere... True. The roof makes the atmosphere is great. With the roof, I still prefer the MCG. I just like Marvel also because it's close to the... Absolutely, there's some logistical things that are great. Don't ask Damien Hardwick about his thoughts on Marvel because he's got lots of negative things to say. But yeah, for me, I mean, look, I guess I should also put the declaration out there for anyone who's not aware. So I'm also an MCC member. So for me, the more games we play at the G, the better, because I put $800 into that membership every year, and I want to extract as much as I can from it. As long as we keep playing finals, it starts to square up pretty nicely at the end. So that's the game against West Coast in round 12. Next up, we play the Suns, and as Ethan has just highlighted, he's also stressed that there's no free wins, and there's no free wins anywhere these days. But I would like to think that we get the chocolates against the Eagles. I promise Aviation Flicks, it's not all fueled by the fact that I'm an MCC member. That is a nice perk to come from it. I want to see the Cats win a flag. And I just think the best thing for us is to play games at the MCG if we're going to play in Melbourne. Because I think there is some sort of discount and stuff I get. Like there's somehow perks. I don't really know it because we don't play at Marvel overly often. And so I don't really get to work out how that all works. But anyway, moving on to our next game. It's against the Gold Coast Suns. Let me shuffle the graphic over here. We're playing the Suns, GMHBA. Shut up, Ben. So we've got the Gold Coast Suns, and this match will mark a huge milestone in the event that the individual remains fit for the entirety of the season that plays. For the entirety of the season, there's no rests along the way. This will be our glorious captain, Patrick Dangerfield's 350th match. And obviously he's won Brownlows. He's a premiership player with the Cats. He's been the best player on our list for many, many years, and now leads us in this post-Joel Selwood period. And of course, as we all know, our last few premiers our last few captains have all gone on to be premiers. And Paddy Dangerfield should hopefully become a premiership captain at the Cats in the future as well. Jackie, your comment about Danger overtaking the Hawk. I think the key thing, like he'll be the player at the Cats who has played the most games ever, but he won't be the most capped at Geelong. And that'll be the difference, obviously, with Paddy Dangerfield's, I don't know, was it 120 odd games that he played, 140 odd games that he played with the Crows before coming over to us. So no, he won't be technically overtaking Hawk, he will have played more games, but not overtaking Hawk in terms of games played for the Cats. Next up, and we're nearly out of games here that actually have specific dates and times. We're playing against the Bombers. Now, Ben's probably going to tip them to be in the top 4 again because he seems to think that team goes all right. They are not. And I think we should get the win, but this is about the point of the season, round 14, where the Bombers would start to decline. This, I presume, will be... So it's our own... Oh, no, so we play them twice. We play them twice in about 8 weeks, 14th of June and then the week of the 8th of August. So we're going to play them twice in as many months. We do always seem to smash the Bombers. I would say the last few games, Tom Hawkins has kicked a few bags against the Bombers, and he's not there to do that this time. I presume this one... So let me check the time. It's 4:15 on a Saturday. I presume at the G... I'm guessing this one will be the country round. So we'll see you there. I'd be curious to see who the face of it's going to be. Surely now, after all the talk about Reece Stanley's farm, it's got to be Reece Stanley. It's the face of for the Cats of country round. Let's lean into that one a little bit, and maybe Clayton Oliver will come and join us in 12 months. So, I mean, yeah, look, the Bombers. Oh, there he is. Bombers top 4, he says. You're a clown, Ben. But yeah, I think we'll get the points pretty comfortably against the Bombers, I feel like. And now, another important matchup. Jez could be the face of the country round too, certainly with all that he's put out there social media-wise and these sorts of things these days. He would be an obvious face for it. But I love the... If the Cats want to just have a little bit of fun with it, and I sincerely hope they do, can we make Reece Stanley the face of country round for the Cats? Just, he's a farmer now, and he's bringing players on board through his farm. Like it's great. So round 15 is a rematch against the Lions. This time at GMHBA. It's a Friday night, 7:40. It's interesting. Like a few of the Friday night games at GMHBA is good. We've got 2 of those up until this point, one against the D's, one against the Lions. And look, nighttime slots, against premier teams in Geelong, that's great. It's great for traffic to the game. Of course, it'll probably be a sellout, but then in terms of televised stuff, probably pretty good as well. 2 marquee teams going head to head, and it will be Tyson Stengel's 100th game, assuming again that he plays everything up until that point, which is awesome. Actually, and this whole time I've been ignoring a column, Ben, where you're highlighting the day break between matches. But yeah, that's a 6-day break in that particular instance between our game against the Bombers and then our game against the Lions. That then takes us to round 16, which is a bye. And at that particular stage leads into the back end of the season, which we don't have dates and times for. I don't know about you, humble viewer, but I cannot stand what the AFL has been doing with this airy-fairy fixture stuff. I'm going to go all soapboxy now. I can't stand it. I really hate the fact that it's, these are your opponents and you know where you're going to play, but we don't really know what day. Some people, and I think about a game in round 18 against GWS, or round 23, a game against Sydney, and they're literally the only flights we're making in the back end of the season. That's not too bad. You don't know the date, and some people want to fly in and fly out. For me, that's like, I'm pressed for money. So if I wanted to get to one of these games, I would want to be catching a flight in early in the morning and flying out that night if I can. And this doesn't allow for that. So, and obviously extrapolate that across, every other fan base in the competition as well. I think the transparency is important. I understand it in the case of round 24 because you kind of got the eye towards finals and what you want to do there. Jackie highlights it, makes it hard to book cheap flights. You've just got to wait. And that's annoying. That's really annoying. Ticket buying, it's annoying. Let us organize it early. What are some of the comments? I'm fine with the floating fixture for getting the best games into good TV sites, but for travel purposes, it's a pain. And so I guess it becomes a question for, and I think we know the answer anyway, but it becomes a question for the AFL: is what's more valuable to you, the people who are bums in seats at the game, or the people who are bums at seats on their couch? Now, I would argue that the most important person is the person who's attending. That's not to be dismissive of those of us on the other end of the TV, because the last few years, for the most part, I've been on the other end of the TV. Because again, young children, and obviously we were all bums on seats watching it on the TV through the COVID years. There's a whole bunch of that sort of stuff. But the most important person, as far as I'm concerned, is the person who attends the game. And when you're not declaring when that's going to be and giving people time to get themselves organized for interstate travel, if you're that way inclined, you're not supporting the fan properly. And so, yeah, I've got my frustrations with that one, but we'll, and yeah, I just tend not to do interstate. Look, as I said before, I've never done an interstate trip, but I want to. And I'm not saying that these two particular games were the ones I was going to go for, but they might have been. As I said before, my priority is kind of getting over to a Geelong and Port Adelaide game in Adelaide, which I guess is an option on the 17th of May. We'll see how we go there. Jackie's getting on her soapbox and they don't give a shit about the support at the ground. Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree. The televised, like the viewer on the other end of the TV is important. Undoubtedly. Designer stubble, Ben. There's no designer stubble here. This is just unshaved. This is just 4 days of not having done anything. I wish I could say that this was purposeful, but no. There's no crafting going on here. That's just, I haven't shaved since what, Monday morning? Sunday, Monday, something like that anyway. But if you like it, well, I kind of keep it for 4 or 5 days, shave it, and then let it grow back again. So jumping into the back end of the season where thoughts on no Collingwood and Carlton at GMHBA. As I said before, and I guess, sorry, Aiden, I'm not sure if you were here at the time, but when I was discussing the Collingwood game, but I guess this does apply to Carlton as well. Hawthorn's a little bit different. Well, they've still actually, the second time around, they've been travelling over to us, but we've been having at least one game at the MCG for obvious reasons with Easter Monday. I'm okay with it. Wait, sorry. Considering I'll be visiting, I completely missed this, Jackie. It's your woo moment that kind of caught my attention there. Ethan, you're coming to town between round 16 and 21. That's fantastic. We'll have to make sure we meet. That'd be awesome. 16 to 21. So he's arriving for bye week. But there's 5 matches there where we could potentially meet you. It'd be awesome to actually get a chance to meet you in person. So looking forward to it. We'll chat more about that as the year plays out. We've got a long time before we get to that particular stage anyway. But, sorry, to go back to Aiden's comment about Collingwood and Carlton at GMHBA, I'm fine with it. The club acknowledges, and we see other clubs do this in different capacities. We see Melbourne take games interstate and those things, which I don't love, but we are in a better financial position in some respects than the Ds, certainly in terms of fan base and those sort of things. We've got more of that going for us. But I'm okay with it because I'm pro the spectacle at the end of the day. I am pro the ability to get as many of our fans into the game as possible. Now, I understand that also, based on this logic, then every game Geelong plays should be at the MCG, right? Because we want to get as many supporters in the door as possible. But for these big marquee ones, the club is A, wanting to get as many fans in as possible, and B, wanting to profit off these other big clubs as much as they can. And if you go and play Carlton, you go and play Collingwood, you go and play Hawthorn, you go and play Richmond or Essendon at the MCG and you get close to $100,000, that's a huge financial windfall. And as much as we, the fans, and I think I was kind of starting to lead into this before and then got distracted by the fixture itself, as much as we, the fans, want to be the priority, at the end of the day, these are all businesses. They are organizations. They are profit-based companies. And they need to keep the dollars and cents coming through the door, and they've got to work with a party in the AFL to get a fixture that's balanced for all parties, but then try and make sure that within those constraints that they bring in lots of money. They leverage the position they're in. And let's be realistic. There's going to be a point, and I hope it's not anytime soon, and I could be wrong based on the way the club has been trying to progress over recent years, or over the last 20 years, really. The club doesn't want to bottom out. Maybe we'll never actually bottom out and be a weak team, but I presume there will be a point where we slide down the ladder, genuinely. We're a bottom 4 team at some point. God forbid if we end up being a wooden spoon team somewhere down the line. I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like because it's been so long. But my point here is that there's going to be a stage where we're not the rock star team of the competition that we have been for many years. And the crowd sizes go down, both from the Geelong supporters that don't attend. Maybe I'll leave you to throw names to describe supporters who come and go based on the success of a team. I won't call them fair weather at all. But also the opposition team. They go, oh, well, this is maybe an easy beat opponent here. We don't need to show up to that. We'll go and engage in our family plans. We'll be there for the big marquee games. And at that time, Geelong's not going to be making as much money as it once did. So squeeze 11 for all it's worth while you got the chance, as far as I'm concerned. Where are we? Unsure on a specific window. Those 3 of those rounds out of 6, ideally. If I'm in round 17, I can see Blues Pies at the G. Round 20 is a possible showdown. Love all the Thursday games for a chance to see 4 games per round while I'm there. Speaking of squeezing lemon, you're going to wring everything out of this trip, Ethan, and well you should. Jackie, playing Collingwood at the G is a great experience for the younger fellas. Finals like atmosphere during the season, and absolutely there's going to be that perk as well in terms of just opportunity, experience. And Kiri saying the same thing as well. Rather play Collingwood at the G. All right, let's jump in the back end of the season and let's bring up those final few games. Let me shuffle myself back off to the side again and go full screen once again. I'm not going to talk about these in the same level of depth as before because we don't know the days, we don't know the times. We don't know. Yeah, there's a lot that we don't know. Round 17, we've got the Tigers. Round 18, a rematch against the Giants, this time at Energy Stadium, where I think our most recent game against them there was a win, and they've been winning against us at GMHBA. 19 against the Saints at GMHBA. Marvel, round 20 against the Roos, as we touched on before. Round 21, a rematch against the Power at GMHBA. Round 22, a rematch against the Bombers at GMHBA. Round 23, the second last game of the season, we finally play the Swans at the SCG, and round 24, a rematch against the Tigers. That works pretty damn well as far as I'm concerned, playing the Tigers twice, a team that it is interesting. We seem to get this a bit where we get a really soft final game. West Coast last year, we've seen this in the past where Geelong's had kind of an easy beat in the final game going into finals. I don't know if external supporters have made this observation and been criticising the Cats or criticising the AFL for it, but I'm starting to notice a bit of a pattern that I feel like we kind of get some softer kills at the very end, maybe in the last home and away game. And more often than not anyway, not every single year, but more often than not. And we're getting that again. And it's some MCG time in the final match of the season. So that rounds out the season itself. We're going to jump into some finer details, I suppose. So let me quickly shuffle the screen sharing around here. No, not that one. I want everything you need to know. Thank you, Geelong Football Club, for kind of expanding on some of these things. Now, of course, aspects of this we've already discussed throughout the course of this video. So we've got 10 games at GMHBA, Freo, Melbourne, GWS, Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, Brisbane, Richmond, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, and Essendon. And of course, those last 4, the date and time are yet to be confirmed. We've got 7 games at the G. So there you go. There's 17 games where we remain in Victoria. St Kilda at Marvel, Hawthorn at the G, but it's a Cats home game for Easter Monday. Great. Carlton at the MCG, Collingwood at the MCG, Essendon the MCG, North Melbourne at Marvel, and then Richmond to wrap the season up. Well, wrap up our home and away season at the MCG. Dates and times to be confirmed there. We've got our 6 interstate trips. a few of them kind of clustered together. So specifically in the middle there, we obviously got opening round against the Lions. We've touched on before, round 5 against the Crows for gather round. So we don't even really need to count that as an interstate thing because everyone's interstate except for 2 teams. Port Adelaide in round 10, the Eagles in round 12, the Giants in round 18, and then Sydney in round 23. It's not bad when it comes to the travel side of things. Mostly pretty spread out. I can deal with this. I can get around all this. And then we alluded before at the back end with some of the teams that we're playing multiple times. There are 6 teams that we play twice. The Lions, Port, GWS, Essendon, St Kilda, and Richmond. 3 of those I lick my lips at in terms of playing them multiple times. The Bombers I don't rate. And again, I think I saw someone enjoying me kicking around the Bombers before. Their team sucks. They're awful. They're a mess. And we're going to smash them twice. So I can get right around that, especially to play them late in the season for a second time. St Kilda we get to play twice. Richmond we get to play twice. We should, by all rights, win both of those games against all 3 of those opponents. And then things get a bit fickle against some teams that are going to be contesting for a premiership again. And look, I'll cop it if we're 50-50 amongst those matches, but it's not bad. And the bottom section here is the club just kind of highlighting what the membership options make available to you. I'm not here to sell you a Geelong membership. You're a Geelong fan. Maybe I'm here to sell you a Grimace shake though. Apparently. What an awful thing. I tried that once. It's horrific. Anyway, thoughts on our tougher games like GWS away, Port away, and the Lions at home. Obviously, like I said before, I think I'll be happy with our matchups against those 3 teams. I'll be happy if we win 50-50, whether that's we lose twice to the Lions, but we, beat the Giants once and the Power twice, or whatever combination or permutation that ends up being. But I think I'll be okay if we're 3-6 from those different tiers, so from those different matches. So we'll see how that all plays out. And then obviously every other team we're playing once. So I think this is a pretty favorable draft for the Cats in terms of chasing a flag. I think we've got a fixture here that gives us every opportunity. It's not as brutal as it potentially could have been. Playing more of these top teams interstate or away from home at the very least is something that I expected us to potentially be doing, but we're only playing 3 top 8 teams twice. Where'd it go? We're only playing 3 top 8 teams twice from last season. And then there's some matchups in locations that I'm okay with. A Hoops Crew membership. Jackie, are you trying to help me, get me to start plugging all things Hoops Crew? Check out the Patreon, everybody. Go check out the Hoops Crew Patreon. We are still putting content out there. The women's season's wrapped up, but there's heaps of content that we've still been putting out there. The chaps have been doing a great job. Like I said before, I plan on getting the season review cards up and running for the men's team nice and soon. And so expect to see those popping up, and you'll be able to get early access to those things on the Patreon. So go check out the Patreon. It's in the show notes. It's all over the YouTube channel. Go check out our Patreon and consider popping in $5 for the month. Not per day, for the month. It's the cost of a coffee, right? I don't know. I don't drink coffee. Is it more or less than... No, in this current day and age with inflation, it's probably less than the cost of a coffee. And you can help grow what we're doing, get early access to all the content, and have a great time with us. What else have we got? What is the game in the fixture that I'm most excited for? I mean, for me, it's, as I touched on before, for me, it's got to be Easter Monday with the Hawks, because it's always a spectacle. And it's the game that, for me, typically, with my kids of the age that they are and not necessarily being able to make it to everything, that is the game that I'm near on guaranteed to go to. And so for me, there's no... I'll get to that. That made me chuckle in a second. For me, that's the main one. But then if I just set my personal game match attendance aside and I look at the games that we've got, and I probably need to look back at the actual fixture the way it was presented before and not what the club's got listed there. I mean, Round 8 against the Pies is really appealing. Obviously, the rematches against Brisbane, especially like opening round, I won't be going to it, but opening round against the Lions, them unfurling the flag, there being a lot of hurt for the Cats around how that game played out. Revenge certainly on the cards. That's going to be a huge game. I'm really excited for the opportunity to get retribution, like you're saying, and make a statement to the competition. Say no, we're back and we're ready to go again, and we're going to be a hard team to get past. Any others as I skim through? I mean, I look forward to beating the Tigers by more than 100 points. This could be 2007 all over again when we play them with the way the youth of that team. Now, I did have a chuckle. The Patreon costs less than a cup of coffee, and it doesn't make you poop. That's a brilliant sales pitch. Ethan, can you put that in video for us, and we'll just bake it into some sort of advertising in the future? I'm excited. So Aviation Flicks highlighting the fact that that didn't work. Highlighted for our games against Brisbane or the game against Collingwood. So we're kind of in sync a little bit there. Expectations on our home and away final ladder position in comparison to teams like Hawthorn or Brisbane, higher than Hawthorn. And then probably just depends on the hangover. Does it really affect Brisbane or not? That remains to be seen. I will say I've only got about 10 more minutes that I can offer for this one tonight. So please, if there's any other questions, throw them out there nice and quick. But stay tuned again next week where there'll be a live stream for the draft. We'll try and do a watch along and discuss what the Cats get up to for the draft. Can I just say it's epic that we're opening the season? Yeah, I think that's amazing. I love the idea. I mean, obviously we've seen Richmond and Carlton for many years doing it. This is a cool way to kind of shake that up a little bit, and I'm all about it. Harvey McClellan saying, remember me who came in after the Saints versus Geelong game at Marvel round 23 as a Saints fan. Came into the stream, came into the comments. Was I on post-game live that day, or was that Ben? I apologize. I probably, especially if you're a Saints fan and starting to give us a little bit of shit, I probably tuned it out. I apologize for that, but it's great to see you here, Harvey. I'm so excited for the Bailey Smith debut. Hopefully it's in opening round. You would think so. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he can offer as well and what that makes our midfield look like. I'll be happy if we split is 50-50, but the GMHBA game, I'll be happy if it's within 3 goals. So Harvey, yeah, so I'm gathering, so you're a Saints fan, is my assumption here. I mean, I think for the Saints, you'd be stoked if it's a 50-50 split, because you're still a developing team. Geelong should be really talking grand final appearances. So, you know, if they break even, it's probably a pretty good result for the Saints. Looking at the strength of the schedule, Hawks have some really tough double ups. Lions too. I think our schedule is easier than both of theirs. Yeah, a few things I'd seen kind of suggested that we were kind of a middle of the tier, if not slightly on the easy side. And you know, based on our double ups and even the locations where we play some of these teams, I'm inclined to agree. And now, especially the teams that we play, like the in-state teams who we only play once. In some of these cases, it's purely dependent on what happened the year before, and we're just kind of alternating. So we might have just drawn a good hand at the right time. What are your thoughts on the other teams and the teams that could beat us in big games? So like I said, in terms of the fixture, I haven't really checked out the fixture for the other teams and identified what teams have maybe got it tough there. So, I mean, the teams that I expect to be kind of significant factors throughout the course of the season will be, of course, Brisbane as a reigning premier. The Pies will be thereabouts. The Swans, I don't know. They've now been bashed up twice in 3 years in a grand final. That hurts, right? I'm still a bit anxious about the Giants, despite the fact that they've lost some good players. The Dogs, with their forward line the way that it is, will always be dangerous, but I don't know if I believe too much hype there. Carlton, like there's some seriously good teams. And the Blues, apparently, speaking of Carlton, get North and West Coast twice, of course. And just to be clear for everyone there, it's not about wins and losses for them. It's about Charlie Curnow's ability to win the Coleman, because I think in one of those Coleman winning years, he played the Eagles twice and kicked like 18 goals across the 2 games. And he did something similar to North. Like, it was, what a way to inflate your numbers, right? Flat track bully. Anyway, There's my thoughts on Charlie Curnow and his goal kicking prowess and the validity of his Coleman medals. Great player, but when you pump your numbers up like that, it takes the sheen off it a little bit. All right. I will stay tuned for any final comments, but otherwise, I need to get out of here in the next few minutes. As I said before, it is fantastic to get to chat to everyone again. And make sure to tune in next week when the draft is on. I actually need to, now that we're mentioning this, I need to check when I'm playing basketball because that could be problematic with the draft being on the Wednesday night. But it is just it's the first round. It's probably going to be about 45 picks long, the first round of the draft. So let me see. Yeah, don't show me those scorelines. That was an unfortunate loss last night. Don't want to think about that. Round 7. My game's at 8:40. I'll ring out as much as I possibly can. Maybe we can get Ben to take over for a little while when I have to disappear. Or I'll just take a week off. Let me see. The team we're playing is a cellar dweller. Maybe I'll take a week off just so that I can enjoy the draft with all of you fine people. Chances of Jezza with a Coleman medal. I mean, you never know, right? If we get the mix now right with him and Shannon Neal, and that kind of sets him loose in ways that, I mean, he's been pretty damn good anyway. But if he kind of cuts loose a little bit more or whatever, then that could be huge. Conversely, now that he's the top banana in the forward line, exclusively, clearly the number one key forward by a mile this time, maybe that becomes problematic for him and he gets a lot more attention. He's a hard one to stop, so we'll see what happens there. But I'll back him in. I'll give him a chance. Speaking of chances that we win the flag, I'll put us in top 4. And then I think once you get to top 4, it's really a case of luck of the draw, injuries. I mean, we would have won the prelim, I think, had Max Holmes not pinged his hamstring again. Something about him in prelim finals. We probably need to put him in cotton wool if we play the prelim next year. There's a lot that goes into winning a final, winning multiple finals, making a grand final. I think we can be a top 4 team. We've got a fixture that would allow us to be a top 4 team. And assuming the gods look kindly upon us, why not? Why not win the flag? I'm all for it. And as Jared says, see ya, go Cats. Looking forward to next year. Foxy out. Looking forward to season 2025 as well. Looking forward to seeing you join me next week for the draft, where we'll pick through everything that the other clubs are up to, that Geelong is up to. Looking forward to discussing what comes out of that particular event. What we walk away with. We've got lots of selections to make. We've got lots of gaps on the list still. So I'm curious to see how that plays out from here. And our last comment that I'll pin today is from Aviation Flicks. I think you kicked everything off, if I remember, Aviation Flicks. You did, with even a first comment, which I really appreciate. Lawson Humphries, he will probably grow and be a top-notch player, young but insane defender. Of course, he's green in some areas, but the talent is undeniable, and I cannot wait to see what Lawson Humphries can do in season 2025. How many games did he play in the end? Does he still qualify for the Rising Star next season? You have to play less than 10. Did he play 10? How many games has he played? Let me quickly research that one. Lawson Humphries games played. He has played. Where are we? Oh, he's played 11. He misses the cut. We could have gone back-to-back Rising Stars because he's an absolute jet. And why not win it next year? All right. That is me done for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for having tuned in. As I said before, if you've not been tuning into Hoops Crew content before, we put out heaps and heaps of amazing stuff. The chaps have been, doing an incredible job with the AFLW season. I do plan to get started on the report card soon. As I mentioned before, we're going to be doing some content around the draft in the next week or so. There's going to be a rookie draft that'll be part of all this too. There's lots of stuff to come. So stay tuned for all of that. More than 100 days, though, until the season 2025. That's a bit sad when you think about it. But also, it's cricket season. Go watch some Big Bash. Go watch the Test. It's a great sport. Lots of awesome stuff to enjoy about the cricket. And then get yourself hyped for season 2025 next year. Thank you, everyone, for having tuned in tonight. I very much appreciate the time that you've spent. If you've only just tuned in late, and I've been seeing the numbers, even as I sign off now, the numbers have been climbing. If you're only tuning in last minute here, go watch the replay. Go check out everything, like my entire reaction to the first 16 games of the season, and then kind of the airy-fairiness of round 17 onwards is there for you to enjoy. We've gone an hour now. Thank you, everyone, for having tuned in. And, of course, until next time, I haven't done this in a few weeks now. Remain Geelong strong. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Thanks, guys.